Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Chef Lance. I'm with Outdoor Solutions from fieldtotable.com. Today, we're gonna make one of my all-time Cajun classic favorites, and that's Boudin. Which, if you're unfamiliar with Boudin, it is pork that's really seasoned well, blended with rice and stuffed in a sausage casing. It's amazing. So the first step that we're going to do with this is I'm working with probably about a 5-pound wild hog ham that we had taken at the ranch in Texas, and I'm just going to braise this off really slow. So I'm going to place that pork ham into a vessel. I'm going to add our aromatics, some thyme, some rosemary, some celery. All of these things, they're rough chop. It's not going to be a pretty finished, it's not going to be pretty and doesn't need to be for the finished product. Adding a couple of bay leaves, some cloves of garlic, and again, you know, this stuff can be rough because as this braises for hours, what's going to happen is all these flavors are going to impart themselves into our wild boar ham. Finally, I'm going to add a little bit of our Cajun seasoning, probably about a 1/4 cup, just to season the water that we're cooking in. And then I'm going to add water. As the water goes in, I'm going to add enough water that our ham is completely submerged. And now that we have our ham completely submerged, I'm going to let this hang out in a 325-degree oven for about 4 hours. What I'm going for here is I want this to be fork tender by the end. All right, so as you guys can see, we had our wild boar ham braise overnight and until it's like really fall apart tender. We also blanched some pork liver in our braising liquid, which is gonna taste phenomenal. So for the next step, what we're gonna do is we are gonna just utilize our meat grinder, and we're gonna just run our braised pork and pork liver through the grinder. And what this is going to do is everything's just going to mix up really well. So I'm going to continue grinding until I do our entire wild boar ham, which is going to be about 5 pounds total. So now that we have ground our wild boar ham and liver, we're gonna now mix all of our ingredients together with a little bit of onion and celery that was blanched in our braising liquid, a little green onion, some leftover white rice. It's important whenever you're making boudin that you actually make the rice a few hours to even a few days ahead of time, because what you really want is the rice to dry out and the gluten within the rice grain to tighten up again so that it doesn't break down during the mixing process. Also, for flavoring, we're gonna use a little Cajun seasoning. This is a recipe that I make myself, and it'll be posted on the site as well. But if you don't feel like making your own Cajun seasoning, there's more than enough of them on the market out there. Just make sure to stick with something similar to, say, like Tony Chachere's. So in the old days, you would have to do this with a tub and your hands, but our wonderful sponsor Meat has really hooked us up with some great equipment, and this meat mixer we're using today is gonna make this job super fast. We're gonna dump everything in. Our green onion, our yellow onion and celery, and our braising liquid, and our rice. What I'm gonna do now is just add some of our Cajun seasoning. I'm not really going with an exact measurement, but this is really one of those things you kind of have to adjust and taste and adjust accordingly. So now we just mix So we're looking a little dry, so I'm gonna add a few cups of our liquid. And I can see now we're getting close. A couple more cups of liquid. Again, I want this to feel sticky to the touch and stick to my hand just a little bit. There we go. That's starting to come together really well. Since all the ingredients we're working with today are already cooked, I'm just gonna take just a little taste, just to kind of see where our balance is in the flavor profile. And I can tell, though it looked like I used a lot of Cajun seasoning initially, this is gonna need some more Cajun seasoning. All right, so now that we have all of our ingredients in, we have our Boudin mixture seasoned, and it's got the moisture content that we're looking for, we're gonna go ahead and use our sausage stuffer and put it into casings. So now we have our mixture, it's loaded into our sausage stuffer here, and it's really important to ensure that you don't have air built up. And what's great with this stuffer is it actually has a little one-way air vent in it that lets air out of the top. And then we're gonna continue down until I just start to see our Boudin mixture going into the tube. At this point, we're gonna grab one of our all-natural casings, and we're just gonna load it over the edge of our stuffer. And it's important to, whenever you're working with your casings, is you wanna keep them in water so that they don't dry out. As the casings start to dry out, that's when they become more difficult to feed on the tube. So whenever I'm working with my sausage stuffer, one of the big mistakes that you can do is try to work with a larger tube than what your casing can accommodate. I personally like to work with a tube that is probably a little on the smaller side, so that I know that my casing will easily slide on. You also want to work with your hands wet on the sausage casings. In working with wet hands, you keep the casing from drying out, and it also keeps you from tearing the casing. All right, so now that we got our sausage casing on our sausage stuffer, we want to just tie a knot in the end. And we definitely want to keep that knot close to where our Boudin mixture is going to come from, because we don't want to get any excess air trapped. So as our mixture starts to come out, it's important that you allow it to come out slow, especially at first, because there could be some additional air trapped. And you just want to hold enough tension that your mixture is going to go in, it's going to fill the casing tight. That's good, Albert. We're going to fill our casings until they're about somewhere between 10 and 12 inches, which should give us links that are going to hit around a ½ pound each, which is a great way to know the yield of the product you're putting out. All right, so now that we've completed casing our Boudin, I'm going to wrap this up by putting it on our Rectex smoker for the next hour. Smoking is a great option to cook your Boudin. Another great option is just simply steam it or put it into a crock pot for at least 45 minutes. Thank you for tuning in and going through the journey of making Boudin with me. If you like this content that we're bringing you, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell for notifications. Thank you.